Hey everyone, Dave Putz here from JKP Holdings. Alongside me, as always, Mr. Nathan Turner. How are you, my man?
Very good, very good.
Awesome, awesome. So we're gonna bring Al in a few minutes, but we wanted to catch up for a few minutes before we do that. Be sure you can check out the replay for those who always ask on the YouTube channel, all the good stuff. But Nathan, how are things been for you, man?
Back-to-back conferences and then getting back from that. So a lot of catching up, which has been good. It's great when you've got the systems in place and you've got everything going, and then it helps to get that catch up done sooner than later, which is really nice.
It's interesting because, I wasn't away for the conferences, which actually was a blessing in disguise. Things have been blowing up, just little things here and there. So it's been a little hectic. But when you came back from the conferences, did you feel rejuvenated? Did you feel different?
I did, it's especially after being away so long. I remember just before COVID, I was getting tired, and I'm like, I'm not sure I want to even go to anymore. Like I'm burnt out, tired. Traveling, it sounds fun. It's tiring, and it takes a lot of, physical,
especially back to
energy.
back.
Yeah. So I was relieved for a break there for a little while, but being back together with everybody and people I know and people I don't know, and getting information and everybody's kind of take on where we're at and where we're going, and that's great. It's good to be around like-minded people and just to be able to connect on that way.
Yeah. With the people there, were they, as our conversation in the past couple months has been about this economy and where it's going, all stuff. Did you get the same vibe from those people that there's something coming, but they're not sure?
Yeah, a lot of discussion on that, especially at the IMN conference, with some of the more macro looking people. A lot of discussion on that, and the general feeling is yes, something's coming and it's just around the corner. And how big of a corner is that? 6 months? Is that 18 months? Who knows? But something's coming, and then the other question is how big. Yeah. Somebody was saying tsunami, and then other people are saying a bump, and who knows, anything in between.
So I did make a post in the Facebook group that I'd like to get into eventually. Me and Ethan will talk later about, there's some people out there selling these loans that are second position loans. They want to convert to a first, and it's curious how people play it. So if you have experience with that, I'd love to see your thoughts on it. If you can put into the Facebook group and tag and understand that if you've gone through that and you've been successful, or you're the seller, maybe you can clarify what that may mean and how that can look, because that to me is not comfortable. I'm hoping that you would pay off the first with the money and the lien get released, but I don't know. So
yeah, that's it. That's a little odd.
Yeah.
I bought a bunch of kind of odd loans in the past, including like lease options and things like that. Yep. But I've never heard of this. That's a new kind of odd. So to see how that would work.
Right now, we're having a hard time right now buying assets. Right now, we're having a lot of counties not able to record issues and problems.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we've gotten a pool of assets that we closed in on, but when we're looking through the collateral file, there's some things that are missing. So we're fixing them, or the seller's fixing them, but the recording is taking a while. I can buy it subject to, but I want to make sure everything goes fine on that side before we do it. I don't want to do the hassle with it. So are you running to that kind of stuff where it's been problematic?
Not really. Actually, I just recorded some stuff just electronically, just yesterday, in fact, and 2 different counties, they came back, within hours. Okay. So that was nice and fast and easy.
Cool.
On the other hand, I have other counties where I'm doing like an eviction or something. That's taken forever, and there's all kinds of backlog on that, and that's it's frustrating. We've been there 2 years paying nothing, and now we're having troubles getting them out. What a pain.
So one of the things that I think I've steered away from in all these years is assets with probate heirs. I've dealt with them. I've owned them. I have a few right now that we're going through, but it's something that I don't get into a lot just because of lack of knowledge, lack of experience. And we want to bring Al on, Nathan, bring him on to the show to kind of talk about this, right?
Yeah.
Nathan, what's your experience with probate and heirs? Everything I've dealt with has been, we've got away with it. Everything went well.
Yeah.
However,
Me too. It's been okay. Sometimes a little bit more time consuming, but yeah, I'll buy loans all the time with a deceased borrower. Generally, because of my price point, there is no will. So we're having to kind of go through a process. In fact, I've got a couple like this actually down in Florida. Before I met Al, but I know Al's the expert on all things probate. So we wanted to bring him on and talk about what is probate and how does it work and how do you take advantage of it.
So it's interesting, bringing Al on here is going to clarify a lot of stuff. Remember, guys, when we bring on people here, it's not just for you guys to know. We're learning doing this whole thing. So Al, welcome to me, Nathan's show, man. Appreciate you coming on.
David, Nathan, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad we were able to schedule this, get it on the books. It was crazy too, because just 2 days ago, Nathan was on my show and I was learning all about notes for the first time myself. And I'm like, I don't know anything about it. I told the audience the same thing. I said, y'all, I got no idea what this thing is about. And we're going to learn it today. So I feel you when you talk about learning probate and breaking it down and learning all about it. So just want to say thank you both for having me, going live with your audience, and anybody that's out there that has questions, drop your comment below and share it, and maybe we'll have time to get to that.
It's funny. I've talked to a lot of new investors, and this was something I didn't understand when I first got into is, what do you mean an attorney doesn't understand the investment side? They're attorneys. They know everything. And what you learn over time is they knew how to be an attorney. They don't understand the investment side. They don't understand how it plays in. They know how to work the deal on the legal side. When it comes to anything else, they're lost.
The investment world is different, right? We could tell you about personal liability on a note, a security interest, and who can sign or maybe do the deal or the transaction at a closing. But when it comes to how you can generate cash flow and generational wealth through note investing and through being in first position on a deal, they don't teach you that in school. They don't. I mean, you don't even learn that in the first 2-3 years you jumped into real estate. Like, it's only when somebody presents you with an opportunity or a potential deal and they say, "Hey, we're not trying to buy the property. We're actually trying to be in first position on that mortgage." You're like, what? Like, what is this? And that's when the reality sets that, there's law and there's the legal world, but then there's the investing world. So, great point, David, about there's really two different worlds, and it can help learning the legal world and seeing other people do the investing side. So you can kind of see strategies and ideas, but definitely two different worlds.
Yeah.
So let's dive right into this whole world. What is probate for? For those who are like, I'm not afraid of probate, I don't even know what the word means, right? What is probate?
Okay, so basics, and we can leave it to the real estate world, but we can also bring it up in the brokerage account, the bank account, car world. But the basic idea is somebody owned an asset. Let's just say they owned the real estate and it's in their name. It's in that person's name only. There's no magic language on deeds. There's no 2, 3, 4 people with magic language. It's like, let's just say there's somebody that owns a piece of property in their name, and there could be other people on it, but go with me on this, right? They own it, they die. Now, in order for that person's interest to transfer to the true heirs, whether there's a will or no will, there's a paperwork process that goes through court, moving it over to the true heirs, whoever they are. That process is probate. That process of moving the title of what that person had to those heirs is probate, bottom line.
And then where it gets interesting, I'm sure, is where there's no will, and then there's several potential heirs, and they get all in kind of, some kind of a battle on who gets what and how much and all that kind of fun stuff.
Oh, I got stories about that. I mean, I got PowerPoints for days on that. The wills wills and no wills, and we can dive into that. I'm only in Florida for those that are watching. So in the Florida market, wills don't avoid probate, right? A lot of people think that just because you have a will, okay, great, now we don't have to go through that paperwork process. You actually still do. And sometimes it gets trickier with wills, because sometimes somebody will do a will and they won't just leave it to people, they'll leave it to a trust. And then there's beneficiaries of a trust, or sometimes they don't know where the trust is and it becomes crazy and wonky. And how do you get around that? Or sometimes in the will, they'll leave it to 5 of the blood children and then 1 stepchild. And now it throws everything off about, what kind of probate, how do you do this? How do you overcome it? And then of course you get people that say, dad didn't want you to get it. Mom didn't want you to get that. And then you get in a tussle with things. So, sometimes no will actually ends up being pretty much simpler. Sometimes it can get messy when there's 8 kids ever, and the will should have left it to 2 or could have left it to 3, but because of no wills, 8 kids, and it can kill the deal. We can dive into stories, but the world of probate is a lot simpler and more streamlined than I think a lot of people have ever understood it, at least in my world, especially in real estate.
So when probate happens, right, we have people who pass away and they hand things down and they go through the probate process. For us as a lender, what can we ask the borrower for to confirm probate's happened? And what should we collect to ensure that everything's in a row in the deal? Or what should we have as the lender have in our file to show the fact that this is transferred over?
Well, one of the things you're looking for is the court orders, right? So the court orders in probate actually transfer over the interest. And so once that order is signed, now the heirs have the title to the property, and then technically they can do a mortgage with you, or some kind of note arrangement with the lender at that point, because how it's just like title insurance on a mortgage side. Do you even want to get into it if you don't know who all the heirs are, and that can back up your loan later in case of a default? So the order that you're looking for is that. And then also you get these bigger probates sometimes where there's like the executor or personal representative, and sometimes they're able to either refinance or restructure the deal on behalf of the estate if it's beneficial, right? So there's different things along the way that you'd be looking for, like those court orders. But ultimately you can't really do anything until you get those.
So again, another kind of wrinkle in our world is, let's say, so the borrower was on title and then passed away. Still nobody's paying on that mortgage. So do we have to wait until probate is done before we can even start a foreclosure?
No, actually, you could technically start the foreclosure. So that's a great question, because I got asked that yesterday, which was, can a bank move forward on a foreclosure even though the probate's not done, right? And the answer is yes, they can. It's just in the foreclosure, you're naming the estate, and then you're having an investigator do due diligence to try to find all potential heirs, to try to serve them, because now you're trying to extinguish them out of an interest or right that they have. So you can move forward on a foreclosure. You're just naming the estate. Now, in the meantime, if all of a sudden one of the heirs came up and said, hey, we need to do probate. No. We want to make sure that we have a buyer. Let's just say you all had the loan with the deceased. And let's just say they're able to procure a buyer who's going to make you all whole, and they're going to make money off the transaction. Sometimes those are the best arrangements, when you can potentially line them up with a buyer, so you get the money back that you've paid, all the principal and interest on your loan. I mean, it's no different than a bank, with a mortgage, right? You're doing that with your notes and your mortgages. So the other thing that came to mind is, sometimes you may have a situation where you have that, where somebody died and now the estate, they want to honor the agreement. Maybe they want to honor the loan. They want to keep it at the rate that you're at, because maybe the interest rate you have off that note is good,
Mhm.
right? Let's just say it's at, 3%, but now the rates are going to 4 or 5%. And they want to maintain it. Maybe there's a way that in the probate, they can appoint somebody to be the personal representative and maybe make that new arrangement with the new heirs or the estate. So there's a couple different ways it can go with the